Hey everyone, it's Shauna the Tax Goddess, and I am here today with one of the smartest ladies I think I've ever met. She has this amazing, detailed way to look at communication and making sure that relationships within your business are super duper strong. And so I'm really excited for us to speak to the lovely Miss Heather Stone today. So, Heather, welcome. How are you?
Hi, Shauna. Thank you. I want to meet this amazing person you're talking about.
Well, the benefits, I think you are her. So that is always a really good thing. So, and all of a sudden I've gotten a freeze. I don't know if that's my side or your side. Can you hear me? Oh, there we go. Can I hear you now, Heather? I think I just got your movement back. Can you hear me?
That was crazy. Everything just froze on this end. I don't know what happened.
Me too.
There's not another soul around where I am at the moment, so it's not like high internet bandwidth usage. It's just the craziness of the internet always wins, right?
Well, I was going to say, I think the internet just can't handle the awesomeness of two lovely ladies in the same room at the same time, and it just froze. And we'll just take that as a compliment.
Sure, we'll go with that. Absolutely.
We'll go
I'm sorry.
So, Heather, now you are a right hand expert. What is what is a right hand expert? Tell our audience what that means.
Right? It's kind of a weird job description. I help people with C-suite right-hand relationships, which is like the founder and CEO, or a CEO and COO, or a vice president and president. Basically, two top leaders in the room trying to figure out how to work together, get along, make it go forward. That's my entire business. That's what we work on at every level. Whether it's onboarding a new right hand to a company and helping the CEO and the right hand figure that out, or whether it's troubleshooting a right hand situation that isn't working, or figuring out in the first place if you need one. I do that.
Well, and I think it's such a fascinating topic because, you get so many businesses that start, you get the founder, and the founder does everything, right? And then they start to hire and they start to build and they start to grow. And so many people don't realize that they need someone until it all starts to fall apart and collapse, and they realize they're working 23 and a half hours a day and living on Monster energy drinks and power naps, right? So
Yeah.
if we're maybe talking about like three different levels of business. So I've started, I've grown a solid business, and I'm ready to bring somebody on versus somebody that has been in business for 30 years. Sounds like the things that you do can really help on either end of that. Is that right?
Yeah, for sure. And you sound like a founder. I can relate, and a lot of I'm sure the people listening can relate to that exact pain of, oh my goodness, I've shown up with presence and pressure and made this thing run for however long, and I'm getting tired because presence and pressure is wearing me out. You're exactly right. And businesses at every stage have that. What I tell people is that a right hand is a big deal. It's a risky, expensive hire. So don't do it unless you need to. And you need to when there's a business trigger, when there's a reason that you need to. So for some companies, that is, we have suddenly got a big contract, we can't move forward, and we don't know how to operate at that level. Or for some companies, it is we took outside capital for the first time. Or this is one people don't think about, the magic 7. When the CEO or the founder hits their 7th direct report, you have suddenly hit a scale inflection point where you can't move forward without additional leadership help, right? I just see it over and over again. So you got to find a trigger to make it. Don't just do it for the heck of it, right? Do it because there's a reason. But no matter what stage your company's at, you're going to keep running into those triggers. In fact, this is interesting. I think it has more to do with consistency of revenue and profitability. So if I'm at a stage where I am, generating revenue almost by accident, I'm in that developing early stage, I need a scrappy right hand who is just probably a part-time best friend of mine who comes in to help, my spouse or somebody like that. And that's exactly the right hand I need, and as I get to where revenue is predictable, but profits are not predictable, I need a systematizer right hand, right? I need somebody who can be there with a lot of their time and energy and who knows how to manage systems and processes and, set up teams. That would have killed your company if you had done it too early, right? And if you're totally consistent revenue and profits and you're ready to scale, then you need a right hand with some financial and strategic expertise, because it's not just assembling systems and teams, but it's maximizing the value over time of what you're doing. And so this question is relevant at any stage of company, but you just want to get it right, what kind of right hand you're looking at.
And it would never have crossed my mind that you need different right hands for different stages. This may turn into like a 6-hour, 18 different levels of presentations here, because I can absolutely see that. And you're right, being a founder myself, I went through I need the scrappy phase. And then the next phase, I need a systematizer. And we're now on the third stage of I need somebody that can scale. So absolutely got it. So and for the audience out there, guys, none of these questions were on the question list. We're already like way off track. And I love it. I love it, because this is the raw, honest truth of like what people need. So if I start with my scrappy CEO or my right hand, I start with my scrappy person. What happens if they don't want to leave the job when I need to scale to that next level?
Yeah, it's a great question. Right hands often have an expiration date. By the way, so do CEOs and founders. So that's a sensitivity we kind of have to address. Do people know their own expiration date? Sometimes not. You sometimes have to force that question in a respectful way. But often a good right hand is someone who looks around them at the environment all the time and tries to make it better. And so they may recognize that they're over their heads, or this needs an expertise they don't have. That doesn't mean they necessarily have to leave. The company has probably grown to a level where they can do some other thing that really makes a significant difference. But in some cases, it does maybe mean they have to go. So
I love it. And so what I really heard was, if you are looking at your team, no matter what level, if you're looking at your team and they're just kind of chilling back going, yeah, everything's fine, instead of I can improve this way, I can make this change, I can do this thing, it might be time to start looking. Is that right?
Yeah. So are you saying if everything just seems like it's going smoothly, it's time to start looking? Did you say that, or did you say the opposite?
No. So if I'm looking at my team, everything's going smoothly, everything's going great, right? But what I heard was that the person that I want at my right hand is helping me, or whoever the team is consistently trying to push to move forward, to always improve, right? And so if the team, instead of trying to improve or trying to push, is just kind of sitting back, chilling, unless that was your end goal, right? If you decided your end goal was to reach this size and you hit that size and now you're done.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and if you're done, great, enjoy your lifestyle. There's nothing wrong with that. But most of the people listening probably want to grow at some point, or they want something to change in their world. They want to breathe and step away a little bit. They want to monetize the company at some level. They want to take advantage of a big opportunity, or, business just doesn't sit still. That's part of why this is fun, right? Because it doesn't sit still. So we always have to figure out. But, this question of whether the right hand is driving the business forward in terms of helping it improve, it's an interesting question, because CEOs are drivers. So at their very fundamental core, they can see a future that no one else can see. That's part of the magic of starting a business. And that's one of the job requirements of a person crazy enough to start a business, as we all know, right? And so I am not saying that the right hand has more vision of the future than the CEO, but the CEO is continually living in this future vision space, whereas the right hand is often living in the operational delivery space. And so they're trying to push that area forward, and they can tell you better as a CEO than you can when you've hit a point where that is no longer moving forward. And you're not going to see it as the CEO, because you're living in the clouds in many cases, which is part of your magic, and we love it. I'm not saying that's a bad thing for a CEO at all. I've been there.
Well, but what I'm absolutely hearing is you've got to have a really strong relationship and communication with the right hand. Because if the two of you are not on the same page, or they're not bringing this information to you saying, hey, we're about to hit a wall, we've hit a wall, we need to make some change, whether that's with me as a right hand or some other right hand. So that's really where you come in, because often, as I understand, it's very hard for business owners to add this right hand leader in the first place. How do you know who you should hire, how to find them? How do you know they're the right one for you? These kinds of things. So can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, it's a great question. First off, it's okay to be cautious. It's okay for a CEO to pause for a minute and think about what they really need here. And pausing is not necessarily natural to some CEOs, but this is one you want to get right. That's why my workshop is called Getting the Right Hand Right. This is one you want to get right. You totally do. And you can. It is possible. I've seen it multiple times, like over and over. It is not impossible. But part of the reason it's hard is because it is completely custom to the situation at hand. It's custom to what the CEO needs, what the stage of the company is, what the right-hand candidate wants and needs. And so you're crafting a new position you're not just pulling out a job description you ran an ad on 6 months ago. You're crafting an entirely new position to do a right hand, and you're recrafting it as your company goes and it grows forward. And so that's one reason it's difficult, is because there's no roadmap for how to do it. Well, I mean, I actually made a roadmap. I have 5 elements in a roadmap, but in general, before my roadmap, there was no roadmap for how to do it. And so it's risky. It feels hard.
Well, and I think it's one of the reasons. Like, so if everybody hasn't noticed, PhD after the awesome name here, okay, figuring out what to do. If you're a CEO and you specialize in manufacturing, or you're a SaaS company, right? This is not your wheelhouse. This is not, call in an expert. Like, as you said, Heather, this is not the decision. You just want to be like, yeah, I like the guy.
Yeah.
This person's going to run your company. Like, you better make sure that there's a proper fit here. So what are some practical tips that you can give entrepreneurs or CPOs or CEOs on kind of what they should be looking for as far as bringing in this right hand?
Yeah. So what you should be looking for is exactly what you need. So you have to start in your own head, actually, not in the marketplace. You have to figure out your own style of communication, your own preferences, what you're trying to drive forward with the business. And that drives what you're looking for in a right hand. So just a simple example. If you think you need a right hand to just execute your vision, that is a job of calming everybody down, getting the trains running on time, getting everything working smoothly. You know exactly what you need. You just need somebody to get everybody to do it. Well, that's called an executor in terms of the impact on the business, or an executor if it goes wrong, right? But an executor. If the right hand comes in and they think they are a change agent, they think they're supposed to spur change, that things need to be different than they are, that there's something fundamental in the market that has to shift, and that we got to do things completely different. They're going to be trying to cause change. They're not going to be trying to calm everybody down and get everybody back to work, right? Those are night and day different jobs. One of you will think you're supposed to
mass panic. Right.
Yeah. And so that's an example of the right hand needs to know that going in, so they can self-screen into whether they're the right fit for the job. And that's just one of many questions that we take a CEO through before they ever hit the street looking for a right hand. And they don't have to hit the street themselves. I don't do recruiting. I partner with an outstanding recruiting firm called 180 Collective. They've been through all my right hand training, and they bring right hands. And a lot of times people start with me, figure out exactly what they need, go to 180, get what they need, come back to me for the onboarding of the new person. So, but anybody, if you want to find a right hand yourself, you'll be much more likely to succeed with it if you've been through some of the deep questions about who I am and what I care about, where my company's at, what business problem am I trying to solve, those kinds of things.
Well, and I remember, Heather, when I took a look at your documentation, right? I mean, guys, this is not like a 3-question questionnaire. This is like 30 pages and spreadsheets and really deep thought. And like, you really need to know what you're doing. So you mentioned, for example, like a webinar or a class. I mean, this is also something that you do like one-on-one with a company for a little more like handheld guidance, or how does that work?
Yeah, and you'll scare the CEOs. It's not 30 pages they have to sit through. The right hand actually does most of the work, just so we're on the same page.
Sorry, CEO, sorry.
Yeah, the CEO has a CEO version, which is 2 or 3 intense hours. Most CEOs can do 3 hours, right? But they don't want to do, they're like, oh my gosh, she's a PhD. It's 30-page book. No, it's not. It's actually a lot of really practical content. So don't be scared, CEOs. That's the first point. This will not drive you nuts. I speak like a CEO when I speak to you. So that's the first point. But I think the question you asked me was how can I help outside of a workshop, right? I think that's the yeah, I do. I think my most popular service is the onboarding service, because you just spent a lot of time and money getting a right hand in the door. And most CEOs, I've done a bunch of research, most CEOs have this underlying worry that they don't know how to manage a right hand. And what they mean by that is, if this person screws up, will it be my fault or theirs? because I don't know how to manage them. I know I'm not that great of a manager, or I've been told I'm not that great of a manager, but how do I actually increase the odds that this will work now that I've found this really great person, right? And so I take them through this 90-day onboarding program that probably accelerates them by 2 years in terms of figuring out by themselves how to get to maximum effectiveness. So that's probably my most popular package.
Love it. Love it. Okay. Well, good to know. So it's not only you've got the recruiting, but also figuring out what you need, then helping partner with recruiting, and then actually the onboarding process. Because you're right, a right hand coming into an organization, there's a lot to learn. They've never been, it's not like they grew up within your organization like you did as a founder, right? You know everything there is to know because you built the thing. So it takes a little while.
Well, sometimes they did, meaning sometimes you're promoting internally and they grew up and they've been with you for 10 years or whatever. And you have this question of, are they ready to step up? Can they really move into the next level? How do I know if they're ready to do that? And, there's some things you can do, like you can let them lead out in making the plan for what the right hand job is and how to measure it. Meaning, you as CEO don't go to all the effort to figure out what this job is. You say to the person that you think might want this job, you say, if you were doing this job, this hypothetical imaginary job that doesn't exist and I'm not guaranteeing it to you, how would it look? How would it look and how would I measure it? And how could this person work with me? And what do you think would work? And you let them see if they can structure it, because that'll help you learn how ready they are. And I will also say this, that when you're looking at your internal leaders and you're saying, are they ready to step it up? Are they ready to actually run the company for me? Are they ready to go to the next level? One caution is they're almost always ready operationally long before they're ready financially. And what I mean by that is they can manage processes and people and make things run operationally, and you're happy with them there. But the reason you're nervous to have them take over is because they haven't thought like an entrepreneur, and they haven't managed the bank balance, and they haven't made the trade-offs between, do we fund this or do we fund that? And, those judgment calls of risk and all those things. And so what you may not realize as a CEO, when you bring a right hand in, even if you formally hire a right hand from outside and they know they're a right hand, but for sure when you're elevating an existing employee, when you bring a right hand in, it's not all handed to him on day one. It's not like, you're the right hand, go, you're running the company. Yeah, you don't do that. You graduate what they're responsible for and what decision-making authority they have over time. And so you could never give away some of those financial pieces and still get the vast majority of the relief you're looking for in the position, and the person would be happy and delighted. So you don't have to just dump it all out there. That kind of manages the risk.
Love it. Well, and also generally ensures that your brand new right hand that they thought, hey, I'm going to have a training period and an intake period, doesn't go and run away. So
Right.
love it.
Right.
Love it. A little bit of onboarding, good stuff.
I have a client I'm working with right now. We just finished the onboarding process actually. And this is probably the most capable VP of Ops I've ever met. He's phenomenal. He's a perfect fit for the company. My recruiting friend found him actually. And the company is thrilled with him. And the CEO is so happy with him that her tendency is to just back off and let him do his thing. And he's been feeling an absence of her presence. He's like, I want more brain partnership. I want more collaboration. I want more of her time. And she's like, you got this. And so that's the main thing we worked on in the onboarding process, is how to actually, connect them together in really productive ways rather than have them independently operating in their jobs, and he said, he turned to me after our last session. He said, this is the thing I've been missing at every executive job I've had to this point. Just because nobody ever pays attention to that relationship. They're just like, you got the functional expertise, go for it.
Yeah. Well, and as you said, typical CEOs, founders, entrepreneurs, whatever, we're on to the next big best thing. And so once we look at, this piece has been handled, great, let's go, right? We're off, and the person's left feeling a little in the cold. So we need a little love to our right hands. I love it. Yeah. So on the other side of that, okay, so you get the CEOs that are like, great, you got it, bye, I'm out. Okay. The other side of that, how do you keep from micromanaging a right hand? So talk to me about that, because I feel like that would be a very, high risk kind of position. So how do you get the other CEOs that aren't looking at every single detail going, are you doing everything exactly the way I would have done it? Like, how do you prevent that?
Oh, come on. You think we as CEOs ever micromanage? What are you talking about?
Never, never.
Yeah. So try this on. Micromanagement is the word used by people who want more authority.
Okay,
Risk
wait, say it
management.
again. Say it
Okay.
again. Say it again.
Micromanagement is the word used by people who want more authority.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
Okay, you're micromanaging me. I want more authority. Micromanaging is the word used by people who want more authority. Okay. Risk management is the word used by people who already have the authority.
Ooh.
Risk,
Ooh, okay.
they're the same thing. Risk management and micromanagement are the same thing. When I don't let go of decision making as a CEO, it's not because I'm a control freak. It's because I genuinely understand there's risk in my business. And I maybe haven't articulated exactly why that decision is risky, but I know in my gut that it is. And you don't know in your gut that it is, right hand. You're too new to this, or you don't know what I know already about this. And so it's all about managing the risk, right? And so we stop telling CEOs, don't micromanage, and we start telling CEOs, let's pull out all the decision making and be really specific. What are the kinds of decisions that get made in your organization? And is this a decision you will ever have the right hand make? Or is this a decision you're always going to want the right hand to recommend and you're going to make, or stay out of completely, or you don't care at all and they can just make this decision? Because if you look across the company, personnel decisions, customer decisions, money decisions, they're not the same criteria for whether you're ready to hand them off. You have to be granular about those decisions. And so if you do that, all of a sudden there's a whole bunch of things on that massive list of decisions that could possibly be made by the right hand. There's a whole bunch of things that you're ready to have the right hand decide. And there's a whole bunch you're not ready yet. So just realize that, put them on a plan, and they'll be ready. Give them more every quarter and they'll be ready. They'll be ready to actually run the thing in a year versus just be dumped in this position where you can't even sleep at night because you're trying so hard to empower them that you just stepped out and let them run everything. Yeah.
Well, and I think that's one of the most missed things when bringing on a right hand is for the owner. So my bet is, and you tell me if I'm right, Heather, that's probably where the 2 to 3 hours of CEO time needs to come in, is look at, like, here's a list of the 300 types of decisions that you need to make. As you said, customers, vendors, money, bonuses, hiring, firing, all sorts of things. Operations, just does everybody get a new computer? Like these kinds of things, right? And from what I've understood about everything I've ever known about you, Heather, right, is that those decisions are never going to be the same. From CEO to CEO, it's very customized to the CEO because some people may care about, well, we're only buying new computers if they're at this certain level and at these certain specs or whatever, because they're more of a tech person or whatever. And other CEOs may say, no, the max amount of bonus is this amount because of XYZ reason. So what is the best way for the CEO to get all of that out of their head?
Yeah. Well, it's actually a pretty efficient process. I said I had a map and there's 5 elements. They have it's a clever acronym, RIGHT. And the one we're talking about is decision making, which is under the G for governance, right? But what we efficiently do, and CEOs can kind of do this themselves by pulling content from my website, practicalphd.com. So they can, they don't have to have me do this, but when I do it with them, what I do is we go through each of those 5 areas of the map and we surface the CEO's expectations. So we just have tools and techniques and skills where we ask the right questions to surface what they care about. And then the right hand goes off and makes the actual plan and brings it back for approval, right? So the CEO doesn't have to spend endless time, but they have to really think deeply about what they care about as we go through the process.
And what I can say, CEOs listening, you better be honest. Because if you put down the wrong answer on that piece of paper, it's going to be your fault. We asked whose fault it was earlier. It'll be your fault if you don't answer those questions honestly, CEOs. So.
Oh, Shauna, you know how that works. Everything is the CEO's fault. That's why this is so high risk. That's why this is so stressful. We all know how that works.
Fair. Really, I guess I've always called it your inner 5-year-old. Right, your little kid that lives inside of you, right? That if you're looking at it, do I care about this decision specifically? If I say yes or no, what is my hell yes answer? Because my little 5-year-old's going to be like, I want ice cream, right? And so answer that, because it may change. As you're saying, Heather, the CEO and the right hand, maybe you look at this every quarter. Has anything changed? Now
Yeah.
I know you a little more, and I trust you a little more. And I like the way your judgment applies. And I really like what you did in this situation or that instant. Okay, we go from like a hell no to a maybe let's give it another 3 months kind of decision. So I love using gut instinct for these kinds of things.
I love it. I love the inner 5-year-old. I'm going to start using that language because it's so often about getting the CEO to say what they already know, but they didn't think it was okay to say it, right? They didn't think they could really be that person who really did care that much about that thing, but not that thing. Like I have one CEO who their right hand has all kinds of spending authority, except for anything that involves the brand and the logo in the marketplace. Anything, a $200 sponsorship with the brand, the CEO has to approve because he cares so much about exactly how that brand appears that he's put a money hard stop on any use of the brand to keep anybody from using it in ways he doesn't want. Well, that would just look like micromanaging. But if you understand what he cares about, it's risk management. It's just, and he's been kind of embarrassed to say that. But when we got that out, it was like totally fine to be that way. You can be, this is what I tell people. This map works for you. You don't work for it. You can be absolutely any way you are, any way you want. This is just about getting what you want on the table so the right hand doesn't have to read your mind. That's all this is.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Yeah, because I mean, I was born with mind reading. Were you born with mind reading, Heather? For some reason, I think I missed that class in school.
I've been a right hand 4 times. I've been a company president, so I have a little bit of mind reading skill developed over the years because right hand is mind reading. But yeah, it's not something we naturally get taught.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, so I'm ready. I'm ready to hire a right hand. Okay. It is a big leap. They're often rather expensive, right? Especially when you're first starting, right? How will a right hand increase the value of my business?
Yeah. Really good question, because at the end of the day, we're not in business just because it's fun, right? We're in business to make some money and therefore do the amazing things we want to do with that money in the world. If your business can run without your constant presence and constant pressure, it's worth more. And it's worth more to you because you can have a life, you can step back, you can breathe a little bit. So that's the first valuation increase, is that you don't have to be always on every minute of the day to drive this thing forward. And the peace that brings is worth, frankly, as much as anything else in this.
But I'm hearing vacation without my cell phone, laptop, Zoom meetings. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, vacation, or just not feeling like I have to show up 100% in order to make everybody go where I need them to go. You know, CEOs, I do call it presence and pressure. Presence is I have a larger than life presence and I show up and wow everybody into moving forward. And pressure is I have larger than life authority and I show up and insist that everybody move forward. And that's the 2 tools in the CEO toolbox a lot of times. And when you move to a right-hand structure, all of a sudden you're moving to kind of a systems, processes, data approach that is unfamiliar to the CEO, but so liberating. Oh my goodness, so liberating. And therefore, it would also make sense that when you get your system, your company running from systems rather than just your presence and your pressure, it's worth more to outsiders too. Investors can buy it, or they can buy in, or they can buy you out with a lot less risk to them, because it's far more likely to keep working without them chaining you to the desk during the transition period and endlessly thereafter. You know, they don't have to build that infrastructure from scratch if you have already built it. And frankly, the best step in many cases to build that infrastructure is to have the right hand build it for you. Like it's a shortcut way to get there faster than dragging the company through it yourself in many cases.
If you can even do it. We've seen tons of founders, entrepreneurs, you know, they get it to a level and it just, either it just sits there, or it starts to collapse at some point because the presence and pressure is just too much. And the owner doesn't want to do it anymore. And they're just tired. And so they just, drop it.
Well, let's acknowledge that often it's tired as much as it is skills gap, because they built this amazing thing. I mean, let's don't underestimate these incredible entrepreneurs who have got this thing to the level that, you know, it's what makes the world go. But it's very, very, very exhausting. And so to keep doing it, at some point, they're like, I don't want to anymore. They may also have run against a skills gap. I said CEOs have an expiration date too. And that's okay. That's okay. They want it to keep making money without them being always on. That's what
They'll make
we
great
all.
founders when they find the new CEO to replace them using their new second right hand. Love it.
The thing is, they don't actually. After a right hand is in place, CEOs struggle a little bit because of this. They have no identity outside of this thing. They're like, who am I if I'm not doing this? This is what I've been doing forever. These are my people. This is how I matter. If I don't matter to these people, if I'm not top of mind for all these people, like, what am I? I'm nothing. And so part of what I do when I teach CEOs to actually have somebody run their company, so to get a president running their company, for example, it's a process where I teach the right hand how to be the president and work with the CEO, but I also teach the CEO how to have a life outside of that and what that means. And I give them assignments like, tell me about your next business venture and what it's going to look like before our next meeting, like stuff like that.
Ooh, okay, so not only business goddess here, right? We also have, it sounds like a little bit of personal life coach is what I'm getting here, right? Because you need that. I mean, you hear this case with founders, they sell their company, right? And a little bit of a different case, but they sell it to somebody else. They're either right back in a brand new business within like a year because they just can't take it, right? They're not, what do I do with myself from this standpoint?
Yeah.
Or they die physically, literally, like done, dead, because there's no purpose for me.
Yeah.
So, I just got goosebumps.
Like the third option: be happy and go change the world in a different way. So.
I love it. Oh my God, Heather, you are just such a wealth of knowledge. You are so spectacular. Now, how do people learn more about getting the right hand right?
Yeah. Well, they can reach out to me. My website, practicalphd.com, is a good way to find more materials. I always have lots of content on there that you can put to use yourselves. You can reach out for a free consult with me. Sometimes you just need to talk to somebody to figure out what's next. That's what the free consult is for. Not necessarily to see if you need me, but if you're like, I don't know if this right hand I have can be saved. Is it working? Or I don't know if I'm ready yet. Like, I won't tell you yes if I think the answer is no. So sometimes it's good to have someone at that level that you can just have that first conversation with. So they can reach out. They can find me.
Oh, thank you so much, Heather. It has been such an honor to have you here today and for you to be sharing your knowledge with all of our fantastic audience. Any last wise words of wisdom for the CEOs looking for a right hand out there?
Well, it looks like praise to you, but it's really wise words of wisdom. It's not an accident that a financial person with tax expertise who's all about what does your future look like is the one asking me these questions, right? Because you have to start with what's next for me, not what's the immediate tactical problem I'm trying to solve, right? And so, it takes sometimes an outside partner like Shauna, like you are for your clients, to really make you stop and go, oh, I am at an inflection point. It is time to solve this. So maybe that's a takeaway is your trusted advisors that you already have. If they're telling you something, pay attention.
At least to the best you can, because we know half of y'all don't listen in the first place anyway. So we'll do the best we can. But I love it. I love it. Heather, thank you so much. You've been absolutely amazing. Audience, of course, if you have any questions, if you want that, take advantage of the free consult. Thank you, Heather. That is huge. Practicalphd.com. So go check out Heather and all her materials, and definitely go download the list of questions, all the things that you need to be thinking about if you're either changing right hands, getting a right hand, concerned about the right hand that you have, all those good things. Reach out to Heather. So thank you so much for being here with us today, Heather. It's such a pleasure.
Thank you, Shauna. Always wonderful to talk with you. Have a fabulous day.
Thanks. You too. We'll see y'all later. Bye, guys.